Welcome back to the If You Market podcast. We've got Emily Baliev-Braun, or Emily Braun, as you'll see here on social media. And we're talking about international lifestyle consulting. More importantly for everyone here, we're talking about freedom of moving and living where you want in a post-COVID world with all the remote work options. And Emily, I promised you that after the break, we would get into politics and the business side of this stuff. There's so much we could talk about. And just a disclaimer here, we actually recorded a whole half a show without hitting the record button. And I'm going all over this all again. So now we're in new territory after the first half, but there's so much we can talk about. I don't know if we had any overlap in between the first unrecorded version and the second half we've done now. And there's just way too much to cover here, which is why I'm going to keep referring people to your website for this stuff. I look at your website and I can't look away. The images are beautiful, and just seeing the different areas and thinking, oh yeah, I could be living there. Oh yeah, I could be living there. It's awesome. It's awesome. But where do you want to start here? You want to start with the business or the politics?
Up to you.
Okay. Let's start with the politics so we can get that out of the way. I'll give you my philosophy, and then you fill in any thoughts you have on it. I think the ability for people to move their jobs anywhere they want now, the vast majority, way more people to move their jobs, is suddenly going to really help politically. It's going to force politicians to provide services, provide infrastructure, and actually do the job, because so many of their constituents can suddenly just move. We're already seeing it in some areas where people are moving because the taxes are getting too high, the services, there's too much fecal matter on the streets, and homeless people and syringes everywhere, and people just say, that's it, I'm moving somewhere else. That's kind of the old style of moving. After COVID, with this ability to move your job anywhere, I think we're going to see a lot more people saying, I don't like this area. It's not just the weather. I just don't like this city. I'm moving to another city that's run better. And I feel like people are just going to suddenly there's accountability in politics. Politicians are going to have to actually run their cities well, not just worry about their next election cycle and whatnot, but I need to provide infrastructure. I need to provide a tax system that makes sense. I need to provide safety. I need to provide, what you're supposed to be providing other than election slogans. So that's my kind of, I don't know if it's political in a bad way, but how I think this is going to affect politics. And, people suddenly have this vote with their feet of just being able to leave, where before we were all, we were all abused spouses that couldn't leave before, and now we can leave. And suddenly these abusers are really going to have to get their stuff together.
You knocked it down on many different angles. And I can tell you that movement for freedom, for democracy, how they name it, already started in Europe.
What would you know? What would you know about movement for freedom, Emily? Come on.
I'm speaking now about organization. Like last week, I was part of international conferences online. It's what I do. If somebody will ask me, what is your day about? I'm participating in international conferences and meetings. And what was interesting about this one, it was about remote workers and work future. And mostly like it was provided by British, French, like European platform. Democracy now, it's what they say, speaking about. And, I've heard kind of with astonishment from the beginning, many views of professionals from European different countries. And what was already striking me that, for example, France and Great Britain already came with some grants to keep their professionals, workers in country or working for companies in a country because people started to move.
Yeah, I think in the past, politicians had to play to the companies. They had to keep the company in their city, in their country. And now suddenly there's going to be way more. Certain industries, again, people will keep saying, yeah, but certain industries won't be affected nearly as much, but you still have all the management jobs and stuff like that. Even in a manufacturing plant, you have a marketing department, you have all these things that can be remote. But um, before, politicians were busy trying to coax companies to their city or to their country. And now all of a sudden, it's this great democratization of it where it's no longer I need to get the one dictator to say yes and I need to bribe them to come here. Now you have to appeal to all the workers because the company may be, you may coax the company to move to your city with great tax breaks and you'll make them a building. And then you realize none of their workers are moving there. They're just putting their headquarters location there, and all their workers are living in other cities that they prefer much more than yours, and they're spread all over the place. And we saw some of this in the last 4 years here in the US, where some businesses were coaxed to move their headquarters or keep their businesses in the US. And then you find out, oh, a lot of the tax breaks they were given to do that, there was no guarantees on the job staying here. They just kept the company, quote unquote, here. And then they use the money to do more automation instead of hire people. And you're like, oh, oops, we actually lost jobs and we paid these people to do it. When the individual people get to vote on everything suddenly, including where you're going to live and where you're going to take your salary. So now you can say San Francisco is a shithole. I'm going to take my 200K salary and I'm taking it to another city. And that city is going to be a hell of a lot more appreciative of all this money flowing in now that wasn't there before. I think some of these small towns are probably the people there won't like it so much. People are going to say, wow, this is a really nice little town here. They're going to start having tourism boards to tell people their town's a shithole, or intentionally sabotaging their internet because they don't want a bunch of digital nomads living there. But this democratization of where you're taking your work money and where you're going to move your economics and your tax base to anywhere you want, I just think it's going to have an awesome effect. It's power to the people when it comes to their work.
It's already happened. By the way, one of my latest blogs, it's freedom to live everywhere. In this article, I'm speaking just briefly about that remote work actually has changed our values as employee and as a companies. That remote work increase productivity based on some statistics. And freedom to live everywhere open kind of a lot of more opportunities. And I can tell you that some companies already even design new perks or benefits, allowing the employees to work, say, be with us, but to work 2 months a year abroad where you want. Like
Uh-huh.
it all shift on many different aspects of company structure. And I would like to point attention that Generation X and Z, they have different mentality, different life balance approach versus, old fashioned, I would say, corporation mindset. They
Right.
even agree to get less salary, but to live their life how they wish.
And in many cases, less salary. Again, if you're moving from San Francisco to Nebraska, you're going to find that less salary, you have a much higher quality of life.
Exactly.
The money,
It,
you know, you no longer are paying $5,000 a month in rent or whatever it is. Suddenly you're like 500 and that's twice the size. And I'm left next to a forest where I can go hiking. And this is freaking awesome. Pay cut. Are you kidding me? Like the conversion rate's insane. So we're transitioning. I want to make one last comment on the politics side, which people thought it was going to be something like, ooh, political controversy. I don't think it's that at all. My last point would be to say mayors and governors, this is a warning call to them to get their shit together because their people can just go anywhere now and they can bring their dollars with them. So you are going to be left with no budget, holding the bag, because so many of your high paid people can now just move to wherever the heck they want. And I would say instead of trying to entice the company leaders to move their company to your area and offering to build factories or give them tax breaks or whatever it is, what you need to be doing is building co-working spaces and letting them be open to anybody to come on in and enticing the individual workers there. Because if you take your small town and you put a nice co-working space in there, it's a public space and it has great high-speed internet, and you advertise that out, suddenly you're going to see your town that had almost no tax base before have tons of people with 100K plus salaries coming in and spending all their money in your town and living there. And making the right moves as a mayor, as a governor, to facilitate the people now instead of the companies is, I see that's just going to be a huge shift. But that's my
Let
last say on that. The hiring companies part, we were starting to get into.
let's face the fact that people already moving from California, New York State, and actually some of them moving to Texas and Florida, but many of them I already found living in Mexico. And some of them, I was speaking with my partner, like a relocation specialist in Berlin, in Germany, asking her, who are your clients? It was around New Year. She told me Americans moving to Germany. I was even kind of surprised. But people are moving,
Yeah.
professionals, and she's
Well,
working only with professionals.
I'm in California, and I have to say, some people may be moving out, but we have a lot of people moving in as well. The problem is they tend to all be homeless. So, there's
Yes,
a balance. We have a lot of homeless people moving in and a lot of high earners moving out, possibly.
it's
Um,
not helping economy, and let's face it,
no,
infrastructure in the United States and in Canada, in some places, really should be upgraded. To
yep.
offer this new technology and people live in these places. Because I can tell you, in some island in Costa Rica, you can get better internet than in big cities of North America.
All right, let's move on to the hiring and the companies and how this impacts companies. I see a lot of things this is going to do. As a small business owner myself, we realized that in the past, when we were looking to hire talent, we had a limited area around us. We're in LA and it seems like, oh, it's a major city, but we're in the San Fernando Valley just outside LA. If somebody actually lives in LA, there's no way they're commuting to our office. It's way too far. And we realized there's a radius. And if we hire outside that radius, people don't last more than a week after the commute. Now, with you only have to commute to your couch to get to your laptop, suddenly our scope of where we can hire people has expanded to just about anywhere. Like we looking for talent now, we don't have to only look for talent in our backyard. We can look for talent anywhere in the world for the vast majority of our jobs. In fact, our whole office is remote right now, and this burning office behind us is the closest thing we have to an office. We closed down our office at the end of the year. Everybody's been remote, and we just said, well, there's no reason to have a physical presence for us. I liked it. I like going to the office and seeing people. I don't think anybody else did. Maybe that says something about me and whether people like being around me. But I think for companies, the ability to hire is going to be massively changed. So people have the freedom now to work for a lot of companies that weren't available to them before. So they think like, yeah, but my job isn't. You can now get a job anywhere else and live anywhere else in so many industries. So that's opened wide as well.
It's what they say, the global workforce revolution. And when like you think about it, how many changes companies should go through, and change maybe in the human resources structure and how they work with people. Maybe not every company would accommodate these changes, but what's happening now, and I've heard from this young remote worker, digital nomad slash professionals, they saying, okay, if companies, we will keep them accountable. If
Yeah.
it we don't like it, so I will work as freelancer. I will go to other companies. So really, it shift to the employees more to personal professional achievement, I would say. It's new world of probably new rules that should be accommodated, because there are other questions with people moving from different countries, the residency status, their tax status. I will not go to this one, but I can tell you that there are several companies who are working online, offering relocation services for companies with
Yeah.
local professionals who would accommodate these changes.
I'm looking, hey, I may work in LA, but I no longer have a physical office here. Why am I paying LA city taxes? Why am I like I can now, I mean, a lot of companies did this before, but even for small companies now it's, oh, where do I want my company to be headquartered? Now companies can consider all these things because companies are super mobile when you're no longer, I mean, before you saw all the companies and they would center around either a long time ago was a port. If your city has a port, then you're a rich city because that's where you have to be because ships have to come in and out to trade. And that's just everything went through ports. And then suddenly you're saying, okay, now the big companies are, the ports are still important, but you're really seeing them around universities and military bases because that's where the talent is. Where are the people? Universities and all the high tech came up for, there's a reason around these areas. Well, why didn't they just go off somewhere else and start high tech and hire these people and relocate them? Back then that just wasn't so much an option. If you wanted to be successful, you had to be where the talent was. And now you're saying that companies don't have to offer remote work. I don't know, if you want the talent, you might have to offer it, because if I'm talented, now I get to choose where I want to go. And I'm going to say, look, if you want me to come work for you or stay with you, if you're not going to let me work remotely and everybody else is, we just had a massive power shift, and companies that let people work remotely will have a open talent pool, and companies that won't. You'll be restricted. So feel free to say, no, sorry, you have to come into the office. But now you just cut out the vast majority of the talent pool that you can access. And that's going to hurt companies if they do that. So I would say democratizes in so many different directions, with just this sudden ability to remote work. I've got a lot of ideas around it, but I don't think we quite know how much of an impact it's going to have. And I've heard people say, oh, what you're saying is kind of like you're getting up there crazy. It's not going to really change anything. I don't know. I think we're coming up on a renaissance thanks to this. The power handed to employees over where they work, who they work for. Before you were like, I live here. Here's the companies I can work for.
You
Now
know
you
what?
can say I can live anywhere and I can work for companies that are anywhere. That just blows everything wide open.
I can tell you that some companies already on this direction. I have just some statistics. I prepared in this case. Gartner, a research and advisory company for businesses, released survey that showed that 82% of company leaders plan to allow employees to work remotely at least part of the time after pandemic. Almost 50% plan to allow employees to work remotely full time. PwC surveys of 669 CEOs saying that more than 78% believe remote work is here to stay. And
Yeah.
some companies consider, hybrid option like part-time office and remote work options for some employee. Because again, some people, prefer to go to office. Everyone condition is differently, maybe for time being, or maybe their job required, hands-on server work or whatever. And some others and company can benefit of them being on distance. What
Yeah.
is important now, when you mentioned port, I was thinking, reliable internet, port to your.
Internet ports. Yeah. We used to have ship ports. Now we have internet ports.
Exactly. There's now defining where we can go.
Yeah. That's a great, that's like we used to have tablets and now we have tablets again. We used to have ports and now we have ports again. It's just, we're using the same words over again. Son of a gun. Um, Yeah, I think I don't know who those 20 something percent are, people that think remote work isn't here to stay, because it was here to stay before COVID. And we had this massive jump forward in remote work, and the trust of, oh wow, when I have people work remotely, the vast majority of them are more productive. And then I get to find out the ones that aren't. And now I know. But I would say some of the responsibility suddenly comes down to the employees now, where
Oh,
sure, we have this great open thing, but guess what? Now you're not only competing with people locally, now you're competing with talent everywhere. Because if you work for remote and you suck at it, it's a lot easier to replace you. So if you want to have the power, and again, the democratizing the open marketplace means you have to compete now. So it's great, but you have to compete. So you have to do a good job, or you're going to find yourself, living in Bora Bora with no job. And you have to do a good job in order to have the options. You have to have skills in order to have the options. So I think this may separate the skilled and unskilled workers way more also. Like, unfortunately, the middle class workers are going to be brought up, but the lower class work may get, the situation might get worse for them, especially in contrast to, now the guy doing IT support is, living the life somewhere, and you're stuck there locally because, maybe you just don't work that hard and never got yourself together. So workers, companies, get yourself together. Mayors and governors, get yourself together. Workers also, what happens when you get an open marketplace and competition is, it doesn't mean you suddenly have some sort of socialism, communism system where you don't need to work because everything's taken care of. It is exactly the opposite. Opportunity is there, but everybody's fighting and competing for the same opportunity. So if you sit back on your ass and think, oh, this is all just a party now, you're going to be left in the dust. You're going to be left the one who's not working remotely. You're somewhere stamping something out in a factory, still miserable. So continue to bust your ass and be awesome at what you do if you want to take advantage of this new situation.
And for younger generation, I think there's still time, if they're ready and adventurous enough to reconsider and maybe to create some new company. What they're gonna do if they really want to live different lifestyle? You have time, you have option. Do something, create your company, even with your skills. By the way, plumbers you mentioned before, you can work in every place.
Yeah.
Why not to be here? Like you can work in other countries. Yes, you need to learn language maybe, or you need to do something else. But again, it's coming to self-development as well.
Yeah, they have pipes and toilets almost everywhere. So you can plumb just about anywhere.
I mean, even mentally to prepare to live in different culture, in different society, it might be boost for one person, but as you say, frightened for condition for others. But I'm speaking about this as well, and I can say, I would say that the remote work, it's not for everyone. It's with people with certain mindset, skills, and people who are ready to work on themselves, in order to get to other place professionally or geographically.
Right. So the good thing is, don't worry if you're listening to this thinking, how am I going to handle this? You don't have to work remotely. In fact, you can choose a company specifically that has you come into the office all the time now. It's just now there's the option, and it's
Yeah,
about to
and
get even bigger.
maybe if you come to the office now, they would more appreciate you and give you a raise for you
Yeah.
staying with the company.
Yeah, if you love the office, find somewhere that values people who love the office and
Yes,
being in the office, and then you can thrive in that environment.
exactly.
It's just the options are there, the opportunity is there now. I want to take this opportunity to direct people to your website. Again, emilybraun.com. Go there. You have what would we call it, a survey that people can take?
On the consultation page, there is a know yourself questionnaire, which can be filled in. But I recommend to do it when we complete it and send to me when person is ready for consultation. And by the way, the first consultation I offer now by free, just to knock down what is important for you and to start our kind of journey. And I understand to work on a plan might take time, especially in our COVID era, but it's better to start and be kind of in the direction, consider your option, and work towards your goal.
Yeah. And that's where I'd say, check out the website. I scroll down and I see Mexico, Belize, Panama, Portugal, and I just start salivating over these different locations and thinking, oh my God, yes, I could be living there. That looks awesome. Oh, wow, this looks amazing. Um, this is still a big decision and not something to be done, digital nomad, you're trying to decide what hostel to stay in the next night. No problem. This is more of a, you're making a big move here type thing. It's why Emily exists. And I would encourage people to follow Emily so you can see what's going on. She's on top of this stuff all the time. What's going on in these different areas, what the, always she's writing, she's on social media. So follow her on LinkedIn. What's the best place for people to follow you, Emily?
For companies, professionals, LinkedIn, it's where I'm moved now personally, kind of working on LinkedIn, networking a lot. I have my Facebook presence, which I was working for some time. And I have, by the way, marketing company in Mexico who's supporting me now, and they hopefully will take social media. So I'm working in several directions. I have now my YouTube channel. I'm with you on podcasting, and personally, I'm planning to travel when the situation will be better in Canada, to fly out to be this summer in Nicaragua, Mexico, Belize, actually to visit the places, to speak with people who already made, you know, the change early in their life, or maybe now considering. Just, you know, follow me. I will provide a lot of information, interviewing people, blogging, just to keep you informed. And actually for me, just to see what kind of lifestyle different countries can offer, because
Yeah.
there are a lot of interesting projects happening now, development in Central America. I mean, my partners, companies who working, and special project actually for digital nomad and remote workers, tiny homes, eco housing, eco communities, wellness communities. It's actually part of my personal interest as well. And how these companies now, communities are created specifically, I would say, for North Americans and European professional remote workers, with all facilities, and at the same time community living and cost of living and, you know, tropical climate. So a lot of interesting things happening, which I'm trying to be aware of for you guys.
So one more question. What about businesses? Do you work with businesses directly that maybe have a lot of employees that might want to work remotely? As a, like, do businesses refer their employees to you, I guess I would say, and say, hey, you know, we have people who want to work remotely and we want them to be able to come to you, so that if they're going to move somewhere, they move somewhere safe, that has the infrastructure, that has, you know, it's almost like having a gym at your office or something like that, but now for remote work. And if you don't do this, then I want a cut of it. Because it seems like many businesses may want to facilitate the remote work to make sure their people, one, they have a hand and get some credit in it, and also make sure their people go somewhere that's going to work out for them.
You know what, like my example, speaking about location, in July I'm planning to go to Nicaragua. It's a co-working, co-living facility for retreats for professionals. It's one of the models that I'm interested as well, because people have like all conditions already in place, even it's Nicaragua. But it can be time, you know, to spend some time with company for team building, you know,
Mhm.
to have some workshops, to have workshops slash vacation slash training. You know, there's a lot of option might come from actually this example. Speaking about companies, I hope that big companies, I'm not sure if it's my market. I think middle-sized, small companies would be more flexible to do this rather than big one. But that's why I'm on LinkedIn, just to let people and companies know about these new opportunities, about remote work option, because some companies might consider it, but you know, they would not know where to start from. So my ideal clients are people as well as employers who might entertain these ideas, how to spend time maybe for retreat in
Mhm.
say Belize or Mexico, or how to relocate. So
Yeah,
there is a lot
maybe,
of,
I mean, they might have talent that they want to make sure they keep in their company, but that talent wants to move once they're, now that they're remote, and could be a good way to make sure you keep them in your company if you kind of help assist in that relocation. So in the past, you were paying to relocate people to where you are. Now you can assist in relocating them to wherever they want to be, and in that way, still keep them as your, you know, your talent working within your family, within your company.
yeah, you can have a branch. I mean, some part of your company living in Belize for 3 months, and maybe performance will be out of sky, you know,
Yeah.
and or different places. You might not need your big facility in downtown Toronto or San Francisco to pay so much. You can work from home. I mean, as a manager even.
Mm-hmm.
what we do in the human resources and navigate the perks.
Oof.
And what companies do now, they even implement this, as I mentioned, in their benefit packages.
Yeah, this is a whole nother, you're opening up a whole nother episode, I feel like, when I realize, oh wait, yeah, companies, hey, management, uh, why don't you invest in a couple places down in Belize, and then you can send your employees there. Of course, you're also an employee, so you could go there and get away, but now your company has this remote space. And maybe you need to go visit those workers every once in a while to check on them, and while you're
Maybe
there, catch some
like,
sun and
yes,
vacation.
maybe to relocate, even, I don't know, invest, who knows how it's gonna be. Like it might be more
Mm,
productive to be if manager, owner of the company entertain maybe ideas to relocate himself. Okay, it might be
yeah.
one of the options to. That's why I think for smaller company or middle size, to have this global exposure might have some sense. But
Okay, that's fantastic. This might be our longest running episode yet since we recorded 1.5 this time around. Um, but let's wrap it up. I want to direct people to where they can find you on LinkedIn, of course. It's Emily Balia Braun. We'll have it in the show notes. We'll have a link there. Trust me, it took me quite a while trying to pronounce your name. I apologize for airing out your dirty laundry on my inability to pronounce your name, but also emilybraun.com. Again, on the show notes at ifyoumarket.com. And go check that out to find out more about her, to follow her on social media, keep on top of what's going on with these things. If you're really ready to start talking about this stuff, then do the book a consultation thing, and you'll take the quiz to find out where might be a good fit for you with your specific needs and likes and wants and all that kind of stuff. And on behalf of the If You Market team and international lifestyle consultant Emily Balia Braun, thank you for listening to the If You Market podcast, where we believe if you market the shit out of it from wherever you want to be, they will come.
thank you very much. Thank you personally, Sky. It was my pleasure. And I feel